Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by Marc Sumner, founder of Robertson Sumner. How are you today, Mark? I was about to call you Robert then.
Robertson, yeah. No, I'm fine, Stephen. How are you? Yeah, all good, all good.
I'm very well. And for those that are watching this, or those that aren't watching this, Mark has the best shirt on that I think any guest has had.
Yep.
It's very snazzy. He's loving it. He's enjoying the summer vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's short sleeve. It's short sleeve
and
as
it's
well.
short sleeve. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never used to wear short sleeve shirts, but then last year I found the most comfiest shirt and it changed my life. Weird little annotate for you. But Mark, listen, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. My first question to you is just tell me what you do over there, what you founded, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so Robertson Sumner is an IT sales, marketing, and tech recruitment company. We only recruit for technology companies. So that's from MSPs, resellers, distributors, and vendors. So that could be from sales support right up to sales director, and from a help desk right up to a technical director as well.
Amazing. And you've been going 20 years.
I know.
So my first
I don't look old enough, do I?
I mean, you said that, not me. So. But 20 years in the recruitment industry, I mean, you must have seen so much change over that time. How have you done it in that sense? Because you've built up a team, you've got physical offices. So you've really done it in a traditional sense, let's say. How have you managed to build this business up and get to where you are today?
Ooh, $1 million question. Yeah, big question. I think when it comes down to relationships, I was always very passionate about recruitment. I started in 1998. So I was, what was that, 21?
You must have been, 8 years old?
Yeah, yes, I wish. Obviously I started when we were, fax machines and no email, etc. So real old school recruitment and learnt the craft then. And throughout the years, obviously just adapted, obviously with technology. Luckily, I recruit for the technology market, so I've had to adapt a bit anyway, and using video screens and conference screens and adapting with that, and obviously the turn of email coming into the market, etc. There was no such thing as email when I started. It was ridiculous. So it was literally sending a fax machine with a CV and then chasing up, and then not even sure where the CV used to go. So, but I would say, Steve, to answer your question, it's probably down to relationships. I'm still dealing with a lot of people I dealt with in 1998, which is great. And that's been the joyful thing about it. I think if you're going to have any successful company, let alone recruitment company, it really comes down to one, getting employees that that are going to want to go on the journey with you, but two, those key relationships. Really investing in relationships, whether it's relationships with employees or relationships with your clients. So I'd like to think the success of Robertson Sumner has been down to the relationships we've built over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I think relationships is a key in any business. Here's a question for you then. Why do you think so many people get that part wrong?
I think they take it for granted. I think that's why. I think, at the end of the day, we're such in a competitive market now. And I think if you're not in touch with your key relationships, in fact, any relationship, brother, sister, girlfriend, friends or whatever, relationships can die. And I think you've really got to invest in them. So that means regular contact, regular communication, going to see them, doing videos like this, phone calls, etc., and really invest in them, but selflessly invest in them as well. Not going to go into a relationship to get something, go into a relationship to give something. And I think if most people went to do that, actually went to a relationship to give something, trying to get something what they can, and trying to sell this and trying to sell that and trying to use people, I think they get more out of it. But I think a lot of people take relationships for granted and just try and harass people. Would I say is that a bad word? Harass people actually just trying to get a relationship. And the best relationships you've got, whether it's with your friends, family, or work colleagues, or key relationships with your clients. They're built on trust. They're built on honesty. They're built on integrity. All the key fundamentals that make any relationship a success.
Yeah, and I think you said a really good point there. To not sell all the time. I think there's a lot of people out there that probably come from an area of not desperation, but they need money in the bank. They need to pay their staff. They play it so close to that line that they don't have the chance to make those relationships not salesy and actually turn it into a relationship, I guess, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, I find a lot of people they want to be trusted advisors. Oh, and that's a big term. I'm going to be a trusted advisor.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? You keep on saying you want to be a trusted advisor, and you're hounding me for sales. You're trying to close me into deals. Doesn't feel like I'm a trusted advisor. I mean, it feels like I'm trying to be power closed into deals. And
Yeah.
people don't want to have that anymore. In the days when I started selling in the sort of early '90s, sort of late '90s, it was a bit more aggressive. It was a bit more ABC selling, etc.
Sure.
Wolf of Wall Street style sort of stuff in recruitment. People have got very, very bored of that now. It's much more advisory. People are acting like consumers now. They're researching customers, they're researching relationships. They're almost seeking out you. And if you're pile driving people into relationships, or you're pile driving sort of products or services down people's throat, turns people off.
Massively.
So definitely don't do that. It's a real key fundamental of not being a trusted advisor. That's like the complete opposite.
How do you react when people try and sell to you on the phone then?
Not well, to be fair. Especially because I'm in sales myself, and also I'm recruiting salespeople for sales-led firms. So, I've seen every technique there is. Challenger sell, Miller Hyman, spin, BANT.
You just checking them off when on the call. You're just like, yeah, this is this technique.
Yeah, and I do get frustrated when I see that. The worst, to be honest with you, Stephen, is when I just get lists of companies, price lists emailed into my LinkedIn box. Discount on this, and this. Now I haven't got a bloody clue if I'm actually going to be buying it or not. Absolute waste of time. Or, are you interested in HMI software? No, I'm not interested in human capital software. I don't ever have that, and I never will have that. I'm a recruitment company. So frustrations around due diligence, people not qualifying the opportunity and qualifying me as a prospect. Most people should be looking at people, the buying persona of an ideal prospect, and looking at them and thinking, right, is this customer in the dynamic of actually what I want to sell to?
Yeah.
Do that first. That's the first thing you've got to do. Is the person, could they be interested in my product or service? When I get a blanket email or automated email or automated LinkedIn message about something they're trying to sell to me, very, very irritating. I don't reply, but it's very, very irritating. But the other thing I don't like is you're getting phone calls where it's just like tell and sell. Mark, I've got this great deal at Ascot Racecourse. It's this and 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 this, and it's free lunch, free this, free that, free drinks, blah 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 blah. Are you interested? No, I don't like horse racing. It's really frustrating. So qualifying the opportunity out and qualifying it for a prospect, to me, is the most important thing. It's a real lost art at the moment, I think. People qualifying opportunities.
It's funny though, because I get LinkedIn messages like that all the time as well, and I do look at them and I go, well, someone must be replying to these going, yep, I want to buy it, because they cannot be sending out the obviously mainly automation anyway, but they can't be sending out these messages and every single one is a no. Someone must be going, yep, sure, that sounds great, thank you.
I think it's on the same. It's on the same narrative that we had email. I never sent out direct mail. I know it does work for some companies, but blanket emails out, and that was what was done a few years ago. I think people are just adopting to social selling as the same way. So the same crass methods that were going over before, i.e. cold calling, email, direct email with no targeted audience. Now they're doing it on a social platform. They're calling it social selling. That's not social selling. That's just irritating. Social selling should be still about nurturing the prospect, giving content out, understanding that you're bringing value, and then nurturing that person, getting some engagement. Once you've got that engagement, then seeing if there's any synergy. If you've got that synergy, then that might be an opportunity to present your products or services. Until that point, until you've got the engagement, you shouldn't be selling anything. You should be doing anything. All you're doing is annoying the prospect. And that turns people off. And I think the same people who are doing that on direct mail are certainly doing it now on social platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's talk about the recruitment industry then. A huge industry. I think in London, it's something like 4,000 recruitment firms open up every year. I mean, that's from one-man bands as well. So all that kind of jazz. How have you seen the change? Let's talk more about in recent years, I guess, because we could, like you said, we could go back to the fax days. But how have you seen the change in the recruitment industry in the last 3 to 5 years? And the positives that have coming out of it, because there's just been such an influx of recruitment agencies, it seems.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Stephen. And I think, because there's so little barriers to entry, when the market's good, the market's been flying over the last 5 years. You know, you could be a very poor recruiter and still do pretty well in this market. You know, the last 4 or 5 years, you know, it's been going up 15, 20% or whatever it is. So you could be average and do pretty well. And because there's no little barriers to entries, I think a lot of people just think, hey, yeah, let's set up and go. What's interesting now is, in this crisis, you will see a influx of people leave the market. They will leave recruitment because suddenly it's going to come tough. Tough to seduce candidates. It's tough to attract talent. It's tough to attract clients in this market. And I think a lot of people will leave. I think some of the positives have come out on, you know, video platforms like we're doing now. I've got a video platform on my website where we use our partner clients. So I actually think there's recruiters doing more due diligence now on behalf of clients. It's not just sending CVs and hoping and spraying and praying, etc. Sending CVs and hoping. I think there's been the craft of recruitment is done pretty well over the last 4 or 5 years. But I still think there's still a lot of cowboys in our market, unfortunately. There's still a lot of people just sending CVs and not asking the candidates, etc. So whilst it's evolved in terms of social media and platforms and video platforms and attraction methods and actually getting candidates, it's not just putting an advert in the local press and hoping candidates coming now. You can do it via social platforms. That's evolved. That unfortunately, there's still the same people potentially that were a bit of a cowboy before, you know, spitting CVs off, are still doing that now, unfortunately. So there's positives and negatives in our market. That's probably why we've got such a bad name, to be honest with you. You know, they say we're like the estate agents of the business world. So that's not a positive, really, Stephen, is it?
It's weird though, because you say, you know, that's such a common thing, like estate agent of the business world. But you just think, well, everyone needs an estate agent at some point in their life, and everyone will need a recruiter. Well, most people will need a recruiter at some stage in their life. And you hit the nail on the head there. It's just about finding that right recruiter and that right person. There's cowboys in every industry. So it's just about. I'm a firm believer that cowboys can only be cowboys for so long. You know, unless maybe you get one or two that manage to get through the net. But with times changing, I think businesses in general, not just recruitment, are becoming much more transparent, much more connected to their clients, connected to their customers. So hopefully we get less and less cowboys in all industries would be great.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Stephen. I think social media, whilst it can be fake news and all this sort of stuff, it also has given the platform for companies to act like a consumer and research the company before they approach them. So, you know, I'd like to think that we've got a good social media presence. I like to think we've got a good social media brand. But companies will certainly research us before they look at us and then think, actually, and they more reference us as well before they actually even contact us, which I think is a good thing. You know, before you might take a punt on a company because they called you up. I think the days of that's gone now. You know, believe me, I think if, you know, I won't cold call now. At all. Absolute waste of time. You know, what I'm interested in is actually, you know, showing some value into the market. Hopefully someone's approached us. Maybe they've referenced us, or I'll give them references they can go and do, and then we can hopefully some synergy. But I think that's the key thing to do now, because it is so transparent. Yes, there's a lot of fake news out there, but there's still a lot of ability to research companies and research individuals and see if they're actually right for you.
Yeah, and I always find that if people don't do that, it's just laziness at the end of the day. You know, like you said, you can just hop on your own website, figure out that you like watching boxing and you've been to Vegas and all that jazz, and you're like, look, that doesn't take much, but it's just nice to start looking and start getting the feel of a business and the people in the business and that side of things. Let's talk about your business specifically then, because you hired staff, you've got a team, you've got an office. How has the current time affected that? Have you had to furlough people? Have you had to make any changes, or is it sort of still okay?
Yeah, well, again, really interesting question. Yes, I've had to furlough people. Yes, I've still got a team on the payroll. Obviously, we're not in the office.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. We're all working from home, and I think for us, that collaboration was quite tough to get adjustment to. You know, we were used to working in an office all together. We're used to, you know, sharing candidates and sharing ideas and going over to the water cooler and having a chat with Go Blogs or whatever it is, or going out to lunch together. And I think that, from a team aspect, has been really tough on us, because we certainly weren't ready for the speed of COVID-19. You know, one day we were working in the office on the Monday. By the Friday, we were grabbing laptops and desktops and trying to work from home, and it really hit us quite hard. And it took us probably, I would say, it probably took us a couple of weeks to adjust to sort of like arranging Zoom meetings and arranging well-being meetings and making sure our team are being effective, etc. And that has been a challenge. One of the other challenges has been looking at our clients, because we recruit in tech, and all our clients, the tech community, their job and their work's gone through the roof. They know they've been extraordinarily busy, you know, not just with the NHS, but with their clients adjusting to home working and agile IT. And they've actually they've had record months, and it's been really challenging working with them, because some of the projects they put on hold and some of them have been accelerated. And there's almost two camps at the moment. I've got camp one, I'm panicking, I'm not going to do nothing, I'm going to wait till COVID-19 disappears, which, let's be honest, it's not. You know, we're going to have to adjust this new norm. And the other camp is actually, can I gain market share? Can I get customers that maybe are worried and aren't used to their current company and they're not getting the service they want? And can I get some employees that maybe are on furlough or maybe aren't settled, or even maybe are questioning the company they're working for, with its financial stability or their future aspirations as a company? They're actually sitting at home questioning, thinking, do I want to work for this company anymore? And I get that, and I think, to me, if you don't keep on recruiting, if you don't keep on hiring, if you don't keep on looking at talent, it's like turning off your heart and asking it to start again in 2 months' time while you're in cardiac arrest. You can't do that. Talent is the fundamental part of any business. In fact, it runs any business. You haven't got the people, you've got nothing. So to stop doing that, I think it's a big mistake. And there's probably, if I'm honest with you, Steve, probably 50% of the companies, 50% have stopped, 50% are sort of still actively doubling down and going after talent.
And those 50% that have stopped, are you now having to, you know, have those conversations with them to almost re-educate them about, actually, listen, this is what talent is, and if you do stop, it's fair enough, it's your decision, but this might be the repercussion in, you know, 2-3 months' time?
It's a really good question, because it can come across potentially as I'm being distasteful, or I'm just encouraging them to take staff off me, which I guess I am, but I actually probably haven't done that, Stephen, to be honest with you. I've almost sort of said, well, look, obviously this is what the rest of the channel companies are doing. It's obviously entirely up to you, but this is what I'm seeing in the market. And because at the end of the day, you can't tell a business owner who's in panic mode to start suddenly doing something he doesn't want to do. I can advise him and say, look, you know, just at least keep on pipeline, still look at talent, or your competitors are doing that. But at the end of the day, he's got maybe cash flow issues. He maybe has got, you know, trepidation in the market. He might have other issues. So I've been very sympathetic towards it. I'm like, look, anything we could do to help, let me know. If you want to use our free platform, let us know. If you want to use our virtual onboarding paper, let us know. Just trying to be as helpful as I can. And obviously then, with the clients that are actively looking, trying to be actively working with those guys, and just being there as more of an advisor to the ones that may be in panic mode at the moment.
Yeah, it comes back to what you said earlier about relationships, right? It's I think this time right now is, for a lot of people, the first time anything of this thing, this what, I don't know what even to call it, this thing has happened, and it is showing a lot of how relationships are so important. You mentioned there about how many people are probably just sat at home thinking about their job, thinking about their future, thinking about actually how, you know, maybe companies aren't as flexible as perhaps they love to say on a job description.
Absolutely,
you know, one of the things that I've heard from a few other recruiters is how the way people want to work is going to change massively after this. You know, before, when someone write, I always used to laugh, even when I think about it now, is when you write on the benefits and people write 20 days holiday, you're like, no, that's just the law. That's, you know, it's not a benefit. You have to give that. So do you think after this, it's going to be more employee-led change or top-level change down?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, listen, there's been a war for talent for the last 3 or 4 years. There's been more jobs in tech than actually people coming into the market. So everyone knows that. It's well documented. You know, salespeople, technical people trying to get into the market, there's just not enough of them. And they've been at a premium. And to be honest with you, they've milked it a bit. You know, they've been able to get those 30% pay rises, and they know they're in demand, and they know they're being seduced, and they know they're being romanced by and courted by the companies. I think a lot of people are going to have a bit of a shell shock. You know, lots of people have gone on furlough. Lots of people are, you know, at home. Lots, even top performers are at home questioning, do I actually want to work for this company? So there's a lot of nervousness from the candidates. But I think there's going to be a bit of a shift in terms of now the employers that are going to be future-proof, let's call it that. Maybe the SaaS companies, maybe the subscription model companies. And there's going to be a bit of a migration from thinking, actually, do I want to work for this company? Or do I want to work for that company? Is the longevity there? And there's definitely going to be a shift. So I think there's going to be some big winners, big losers in this. And I think the talent in the market, in terms of the candidates, they might be not as demanding as they were. Let's put it that way. You know, there's going to be much more talent available in the market. You know, there's going to be, my prediction is a lot of these people who are on furlough won't come back. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that might not be able to, you know, survive and might not be able to get them back, which is a real shame. And I think, you know, without going political, I think, you know, the Chancellor did a great thing there and he acted with decisive action. And I think it was great to extend it to, or do it in the first place, the furlough scheme, and do it to end of June. But unless people get back to work fairly quickly, and I'm hoping in the next 3 weeks with this lockdown, we actually stagger it back and we get back on with it. If we don't, I think there's going to be a lot of casualties out there. And at the moment, let's be honest, if you're in any job and you've been furloughed, or any job and you're working from home, you're having much more time to actually think about, do I want to work for this company? And if someone approaches you on LinkedIn, or someone, you know, like if I'm as a recruiter and I'm trying to approach everyone, I can get hold of any candidate now. Because I know where they are. They're at home and they're by their mobile. You know, they're not saying they're in meetings. They're not traveling on trains. Well, I know exactly, or they're not going out for meals. I know exactly where they are. So this is the easiest time to get hold of talent, and this is the easiest time to get hold of decision makers. So coming back to your point earlier about relationships are key. If you can't build relationships now, when the person sat in front of the desk, the person sat in front of the phone all the time, you've literally got no hope. You might as well get out of the job now.
So any recruiters listening, if you're not speaking to talent,
forget it. Go and sell some product somewhere else.
Go
and be an estate agent.
Okay, so from what's happened so far, you know, we're only 4 weeks into this. Have you already done some things that you think you're going to make changes in your own business moving forward?
Do you know what? It's really interesting, Stephen, because I've spoken to my team about it. Most recruitment companies, if they're honest, they put the candidate in, and they're sort of kind of hoping they don't get the sort of call to say it hasn't worked out, etc. So they're almost like praying, oh, don't call me, etc. Don't call about the rebate period. And you know, I sort of get that. And what we've decided to do is we're going to sort of flip it and maybe be more like an outsourced recruitment partner. Now, I know, again, that's a term, but hear me out. This is what I'm saying. So, for instance, being 1 day on site every month with our clients, whether they're recruiting or not, just living and breathing their culture. Instead of actually just on the phone saying, oh, can you tell me about your culture? Tell me why you're such a good company to work for. Actually living it and seeing it. So going on site, interviewing the candidates, talking about the induction, talk about the onboarding process, talking about the attraction strategy, talking about their employees that have worked out, talking about the employees that haven't worked out. But when you can actually have a sensible conversation with the hiring manager, you can say, look, I know the culture. I've been here for 4 or 5 months at the top. I know the culture because I've interviewed Johnny and Dave and Joe Blogs, and I've interviewed all of them. I understand it. I understand the culture because I've seen the onboarding process. I've seen it all. To add much more value. So when you're actually putting someone into the company, you're not just hoping they're going to work out. You can actually identify what the problem is and give some, you know, honest and sometimes brutal feedback to the decision maker to say, this is why it hasn't worked out. Your induction was rubbish. Your onboarding process was rubbish. You're not the best employee. You're not some great employer of choice. Your culture isn't as good as it is. I've done an engagement survey and it's not quite right. This is how we're going to fix it. And I think for us, we're going to try to work towards more being a talent development company rather than just a recruitment company. So we're going to go in 1 day a month. If they still want recruitment, that's all they want, fine. We'll still work with them. We'll still do recruitment. But I'm much more interested in working with companies that are going to be taking talent seriously and really investing in it. You know, and that's via sales training for newbies, sales training for existing, marketing, onboarding, engagement, retention strategies, helping attraction strategies, and people that are really going to invest in talent rather than just, actually, can I have 2 sales guys, Mark, and just putting them in and hoping. So that's for us. We're gonna shift to very much more a partner model.
No, I think that's a really smart move, because one of the things that I think is going to happen is I think companies are going to become a lot more streamlined with their employees. I don't think they're going to hire people for the sake of like handing out chocolates in the office anymore. I think they're going to definitely get more streamlined, which is a great thing, because it means that people are going to be more valued and companies are going to respect their employees a lot more. Even these, even companies that have 17 ping pong tables in the office, sort of thing, that's still going to be there, but I think it's just going to mean that people are going to start being put forward more, being put forward first more, so that move you're thinking of there is fantastic. Did this idea come because, like everyone else, you're sat at home, you've got more time, and you're thinking, oh, what should I, I've been in the game 20 years, maybe it's time to pick things up.
And it is, I've been doing a lot of calls like this with my clients, and it's been great doing these video calls with them and just asking them feedback. I know the recruitment companies, any recruitment company out there, they want to be a trusted partner, but they're actually not. They're just putting people in and then really just hoping they work out. And I've done it myself, and we do that. And yes, we'll do due diligence, and yes, we'll do screening, and yes, we'll do psychometric testing. But still, we're taking a leap of faith. We're actually putting that person in and hoping they work out. And I'm sitting at home, sort of thinking, if I was, trying to put myself in the employer's shoes, I'm thinking the risk is all with me. Really, I've got to pay a fee. I've got to hope they work out. I've got to take Mark's word for it if they're any good, and I've got 10 weeks to work out. So I thought, actually, if we're in it together, if I'm actually investing in coming down to the company and not just coming down for a 1 hour visit, and then buggering off for another year, actually saying to the company, look, I'm happy to come 12 times a year, all your onboarding, all your inductions, all your processes, all your about attracting talent, all your attention about talent, I want to be involved in. If you don't want to be involved, that's fine. But our partner model was that. And so when I've been getting feedback, and the channel companies have sort of like said, look, that'd be really, really good. And if someone doesn't want to do that, if someone says to me, Mark, no, I don't want you in my office one day a month, I don't want you really giving me any advice about commission structures or partners, attraction or onboarding, I've got it all sussed, I would then question them thinking, do I want to work with them?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really great indicator to see where they're coming from. Is an employee just another number for them, or is it someone that they want as an asset in the business?
Yeah, and how many times have you heard this? Oh yeah, we're an employer of choice. We're a people-centric company. We put our people first.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Oh yeah, we've just announced 1,000 redundancies. Right. How did you work? How did you do that? Oh, we just got a list, and all the newbies, we just got rid of them.
Yeah.
Wow. It's
you got rid of all the people that are probably the most excited to work for you.
Yeah, the ones that are really engaged and you thought were good, and it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at thinking, people talk a lot about, I take care of my staff and I really look after my staff, and I'm a great employer. Well, this is the shaking of the apple tree. You'll soon see who the great employers are and the not so great employers are after this COVID.
I think that the top 100 employee list may change next year.
Definitely.
I think it's been a little bit stagnant for a while, and it's good to shake things up.
But
listen, Mark, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. You are one of the nicest recruiters I've ever spoken to, which is I've spoken to.
Oh, you're a gentleman.
Wait, should I rethink that? No, you're good. But listen, one of my final questions to you is, what advice could you give to a business that is maybe at that struggling stage with employees, and how could they be retaining their staff better from what you know in the market?
Great question. And I think the simple answer is over communication. This is the time to really be having those daily calls and touch points, etc. Things you may have taken for granted when you're in the office, seeing Joe by the water cooler or just popping into the office, etc. Can't do that now. So over communicating with the team, daily touch points, and that could be not just around work, about well-being, making sure they're happy, anything else they can do for you, and also being transparent around communication, doing weekly company updates. It doesn't have to be some big announcement in terms of, oh, we're doing X, Y, Z. Almost like just saying, this is the plan for the week, this is where we are, this is what's happening, see you next week, and you'll have daily touch points for your managers. I think that's key at the moment, because what was one thing that's very apparent, this is changing on a week-to-week basis. 4 weeks ago, shit, I haven't got no laptops, I haven't got desktops, I'm working from home. 2 weeks ago, right, I'm working from home, I need more of a permanent solution. Now it's like, how do we communicate with our staff? Are they actually well, or are they actually anxiety? So it's every week there's a new thing to think about. But if you're constantly communicating with your staff, you're constantly communicating with your teammates, hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be good enough to sort of keep you going through this crisis.
Yeah, totally agree. Listen, Mark, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, speak to you more about their business, more about their retention or recruitment strategy, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. We're also doing a recruitment health check every Wednesday between 2 and 4. So you can just log in my diary. So that's advice to any candidate or any client out there who wants advice in this crisis, whether it's CV writing, I've been furloughed, I can't get a job, to actually I'd like to do hiring, but I'm not sure why, or I'd like to get, exit candidates and I don't know how to do it, or attraction or retention or whatever it is around talent. 2 to 4, the Robertson Sumner health check, the 2 to 4, but any or not, just direct to LinkedIn.
Perfect. Mark, thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. Like I said, thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing the change that you guys start implementing afterwards. So I'll be checking in with you and see how it's going.
Brilliant. All right, Steve.
Thanks everyone for watching and listening. This has been Founders 365.
Bye-bye.